Please welcome to the stage Alison Levin, President of Advertising and Partnerships at NBCUniversal, and Jed Dederick, Chief Revenue Officer of the Trade Desk.
Hi, guys. All right, we've been warned not to spill these on ourselves.
We were warned about these waters.
Yeah.
They're high waters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Allison.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
You.
It's good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I get to rock this awesome Britney Spears mic, which I'm thrilled to do, so thank you.
Me too. They gave me one
like
that
a
kind
rock
of
star?
matches my shirt.
Look at
I'm
you.
psyched about. I know.
So fancy today.
I know. Look at us.
Yeah.
Two digital people at this fancy TV. Allison and I were live because we've known each other for like a decade. And it's so exciting to be here with you in this context, in this incredible room filled with so many of the leaders of our industry. And I am excited to talk about what NBCU has been doing with regard to democratizing access to its content. I feel like one of the big shared values between our two companies and some of the secret to our success and to the work that we've done and where our advertisers and agencies have recognized benefits has been because you guys have strategically led when it comes to democratizing access to incredible content. Will you talk about the strategy behind that?
Yeah, so first, thank you for having me. It's a thrill to be here. One of the stats that actually I was talking to the team about the other day that surprised me, and I think most people probably don't know about NBCU, but as it exists today, 70% of our hours across our property are live. They're live moments. And of course, you think about, the Olympics or Sunday Night Football. There's also everyday moments like the Today Show, Christmas moments like the tree lighting and Macy's Day Parade. And NBCU really was forward-thinking on strategically deciding that these live moments, these big tentpoles, that we were going to democratize access to them and put them on Peacock. And I think early on, people actually really thought that that would likely cannibalize our linear viewership, right? Like they were holding on like this to some of the assets they had on linear because they were worried about what it would do to them if they put it on streaming. But NBC really was forward thinking in that, and what we saw was that actually wasn't the case. So even thinking last season for Sunday Night Football, viewership on linear was up, viewership on streaming was up. It added a whole new audience for us in that ecosystem. And then when you think about that new audience, the power of live moments, which we know are some of the most powerful ad opportunities in the market, and then the growth of Peacock, it allowed us to think differently about the ad formats, about how you can target the right consumer, and about access to that, so programmatic access. And we were really bullish on this because not only did we know that our partners wanted to activate in the way that made sense for them and that they cared about. And so if they wanted to activate programmatically, we wanted to be there for them and support them in that. But then also, there was a whole cohort of advertisers that just did not have access to these big live moments that drove massive impact. And so, together in the work that we've been doing, we were able to really start in live programmatic, I think, years before a lot of the market. And even in the last year alone, we're continuing to grow the audience base, and so it's there, and it's big, but we still grew 50% year over year in the number of advertisers who bought into live moments across the property.
Wow. 50% growth in the number of advertisers.
The number of advertisers,
And that, speaking of democratizing access, and for me, where I get so passionate and so much of my meaning and why of working and where we do is the more access we give to advertisers to premium content, the more people around the world, I think, get access to premium content and sort of the best that humanity has to offer. And speaking of that, I really loved watching the Olympics. I got to go to a little, but I watched with my family for the most part on the Peacock app, and I thought that you guys nailed it. I really loved the experience. And we, as the Trade Desk, felt really fortunate to be a demand partner and activating advertisers in the Olympics. So can we talk a little bit about what happened, what advertisers experienced? What are your reflections on the impact that giving that access programmatically to the 2024 Olympic and Paralympic Games was?
Yeah, and just reflecting on the Olympics, it was such a proud moment for us in our organization, and I think we're really fortunate to be able to bring moments, especially in that time, that brought people together, that had so much suspense, that had the whole country cheering, for our team. So it was such a great moment. And it also was this really unique testing opportunity. You have 16 days to sort of reimagine what this will look like from the consumer experience and from the advertiser experience. And so from the consumer experience, of course, we reimagined sort of the entertainment component of the Olympics. You saw that with Snoop Dogg. Like, he just was on fire and everyone was loving him. Yeah. And then you also saw that on Peacock, right? We had every piece of content from the Olympics was on Peacock, every single sport. And I don't know if you remember this. You and I went to lunch later in the summer.
I remember.
And you said to me, I always felt like the live experience was a great one, just in general. But you guys really made it better with Peacock, and I didn't know that was possible. And we felt that sentiment a lot. Like, things like Multiview and Gold Zone and AI Michaels, we just reimagined what it could look like. Yeah. And that also opened new advertiser experiences, right? So Microsoft sponsoring AI Michaels, for instance, or Instacart sponsoring commerce and virtual concessions. And then on Activation Pass, it allowed us to activate because we had all of this additional content that we didn't have on linear on streaming programmatically. Yeah. And it allowed for advertisers that might not have access to that meaningful, emotionally tied, high-reach content in a way that we were able to partner and do together. And so I'd say there's probably two things. We learned a ton. I think it was, as we said, the best testing ground on what we're going to do for the future. But two key things I think stood out to us. The first was that it did bring in a new cohort of advertisers that we would not have seen otherwise. Yes. So we joked a lot that we saw like the San Diego Zoo. Like, how awesome. The San Diego Zoo got to participate in the Olympics. 90% of the advertisers who programmatically activated with the Trade Desk for the Olympics never activated for the Olympics before that. Wow. Right? So the vast majority of these clients were new. The second thing I think that was really interesting for us, and is not that intuitive, but something that programmatic allows us to do is get a quicker pulse on the business, a quicker understanding of performance or what it's looking like. And of course, a lot of our clients see the success of the Olympics in their direct, do they move products off the shelf or their MMM? But that takes a long time. Yep. One of the data points that we saw, which I was so fascinated by from our campaign, was that about 94 to 95% of the people that we reached with two of our top advertisers on the Olympics were unreachable on any other AVOD and streaming. Wow. So take a moment to think about that. That's a data point we would not have had access to if not for activating this way. Certainly wouldn't have known that quickly. And we had a thesis that there is a cohort of consumers who watch live sports on streaming who are just so hard to reach in other places, right? They're ad avoiders in other spots. Maybe they buy subscriptions without ads, but in live, that's where you reach them. Yeah. And this data showed that when you are a major client and you need to get that last reach point, you need to find them, this is a perfect way to find that audience on streaming and live sports, and we were able to see it in a couple days' time.
That's really cool. I'm one of them. And as I sat there watching, as I told you over lunch, the whole day with my kids, staying tuned in to different parts of the event, I really think that was a different experience of watching live sports than I've ever had. And I feel a real sense of gratitude for having been able to fund a part of it with the Trade Desk and our partnership. So we talked about the experience and the impact that advertisers have seen, but let's talk a little bit about the level of investment it takes to run advertising on live sports and programmatic. For us, we've always looked at that and said, what an opportunity for technology to make something that feels hard and something that's been so sort of manual to feel more always on and more not out of reach for advertisers and agencies who traditionally haven't been able to call and do a big sponsorship. And so can you talk a little bit about the technical investments and the integration investments that NBCU has made to make live sports programmatic?
Yeah. When you were there at the Olympics, did you see Katie Ledecky swim?
No, I didn't
you
get
missed
to.
Her? Did anyone watch Katie Ledecky swim at the Olympics? She dived in, and it just, I had the incredible benefit to go see her live. She dived in and made it look so damn easy. Just like, powering ahead of everyone else, right? And I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, I think sometimes people think that's sort of how this works, right? With live sports and programmatic. Like, we just jumped in and it's great. But
I called Allie and then we made it.
Just push a button and we got it. It's great. But we know that a lot goes into that Kaylee Decky spends years getting to that moment. And we spent years, and I think this is a testament to the partnership and the closeness we had, and knowing that this was going to be a huge opportunity, because it was not that intuitive that live and programmatic live, or that targeted live, was going to be a big opportunity, but we were forward thinking in it. So we spent a long time working together to make sure that we were able for this moment, because obviously live is there and then it's gone, right? So you have to be able to have the tech working the way you need it to. So even things like, we talked about this at the time, but I'm not sure it sunk in as much, but we used AI to review every piece of creative that was coming in programmatically, because for the Olympics and with the IOC, you have to be really careful about what advertisers are running. You have to think about competitive separation. Even things like if you have a creative spot and there's a credit card in the back, even if the ad's not about a credit card, but if that credit card's not the IOC sponsor, you can't run that piece of creative, right?
Yeah.
So we actually had AI reviewing this, picking up on logos, picking up on anything they can see, so we can turn it around like that when the moments came and the spikes came.
Yes.
And I know you guys did a lot of work too on helping us around pacing and forecasting, areas like that.
What an amazing AI opportunity. And by the way, I really like it when bulk creative approval gets mentioned on big stages like this. I'm like, programmatic nerds.
Yeah.
But what a massive big data problem to do forecasting on live sports. We really, traditionally, it's been a very manual process, and it's been a lot of guesswork and a lot of people having to stay up late on weekends to manage campaigns and things like that. Yeah. And then to say nothing of pacing, where you might find incredible new opportunities that you weren't ready for in the moment because something happened, a goal was scored, a new player came on, a celebrity showed up in the audience that really resonates. And the only way to address that is with automation and technology, and using AI to address that. So I agree. You guys have crushed it on things like bulk creative approval and using AI to make this easier. And I am really excited about the future. There are a pretty amazing sort of 18 months ahead of us, and specifically for your slate. So when advertisers, agencies think about how they can be present, what should they be thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and we've spoken about this, so much of the work together that we've been doing is to get us ready for what's next. So NBCU is having our 100th year anniversary. The Peacock has never looked better, looking younger than ever. And we have the biggest year in our history. So September is a 20th year anniversary of Sunday Night Football. October, the NBA comes back to NBC. November, my personal mecca, BravoCon. December, holidays, the tree lighting.
Yep.
And then we breathe for a second, kind of, in January. And then February, we go back to the Olympics in Milan, Cortina. We pause the Olympics to go to Super Bowl. We go back to the Olympics again. Then we go to All-Star Weekend. We take a quick little breath, and then we have World Cup, right? So, we think 70% of our moments are live already, and then you think about what's going to happen. And I think the most exciting part of this, and we spent a lot of time talking about it, and with your team at the Trade Desk, people are planning for sports, and people are planning for streaming, but not many people are thinking about enough, I think, right now, streaming sports. And what does that opportunity look like? And what does a programmatic access look like? If you just take a step back and think about the NBA as it exists right now is mostly a linear asset. Starting the new season, a large portion of the NBA is going to be digital for the first time.
Yep.
And what an opportunity to reintroduce to consumers, new consumers, what this can look like with new experiences. Think about everything that we've done on the Olympics, new advertisers, new opportunities, new targeting, new attribution. Like, it is just such an incredible moment, I think, that we're in. And there was so much growth in connected TV and streaming, and we worked on that a lot together.
Yeah.
And now this growth is streaming and live. And again, this is the ultimate ad product there is. So getting ready for that moment is so exciting, I think, for all of us.
What an intense 2026.
Yeah.
And then 2027.
I'll sleep in 2027, so it'll be good.
Wait, what's your favorite Bravo show?
God,
Not that
like
are
a
you allowed to
favorite kid,
answer
it's
this?
really hard to say.
Okay.
I love every single one of them dearly.
Okay.
I mean, I've started obviously with the Housewives, so
Yeah.
it's Dear and Summer House, and all
I
of them.
never watch Housewives with my family. I always watch Housewives.
We'll get you the BravoCon ticket for next year.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Also, like, who watched SNL 50th? Yeah. I was doing drunk uncle quotes for Alison earlier. But when I think about how much fun I had watching that, I think about like laughing to the point of tears at multiple points and some of the amazing just things that happen that you just don't get anywhere else. For me, in our industry, that translates into engagement. Mm-hmm. That translates into a different level of experience for someone who's consuming that content and then who's seeing advertising. Will you talk about how you think about engagement and how you think that these advertisers and agencies should think about engagement in the years ahead?
Yeah, I mean, it is such a great question. We were with a major advertiser the other day, and he said something that was just so obvious and simple, but I think it's been helping us as we think through this too, that the ROI equation is reach, getting a lot of people, relevant reach, right, the right people, and then engaging them deeply. And that drives ROI. And I think as an industry, we spent a lot of time on the first part, right? Like quantifying reach and what does reach look like and what does targeting look like, and not enough time thinking about and quantifying engagement, right? Like, what do those levers do? What does attention do? What does taking IP and your commercial and blending those together do, right? And we're really invested in helping our advertisers get those moments and then understand the power and the impact of those moments. So, like, did anyone here, I'm hoping you guys saw some of the SNL commercial spots that we did, right? So the Capital One and Delicious Dish, like, hysterical for all of us that grew up with that. Like, you just felt it, you emotionally felt it, right? And so for us on our 100th year anniversary, it's doubling down on those moments, helping with breakthrough creative. There's a stat I heard the other day, which kind of blew my mind, but 50% of actual activations, purchases, can be attributed to the creative, right? And as an industry, I think that there's such an opportunity for us, especially with AI and the learnings that we can get, but to tell that story. And then you and I have spoken about this, but the reality is all impressions are just not created equal. They're not, right? We have 5 minutes for our ad load, right? Our ad load's one of the lowest in the marketplace. That has an impact on your ROI. Having IP and a commercial spot blended together has impact on your ROI. And I think we're really invested in leaning in and helping brands understand and quantify that, and helping to understand, together, what does that one impression mean versus something else that might not be as leaned in and premium of the moment.
Yes. We spend a lot of time as an industry worrying about ads staying off the very worst things and talking a lot and reading a lot about how ads might show up on the very worst things. We don't spend enough time saying, all right, obviously don't advertise on that. Yeah. Now, everything else, let's value it based on engagement, based on quality signals like ad load, as you talked about.
Right.
And for us, that's the conversation that's exciting, the conversation that's virtuous and rewarding. I'd like to spend more time on that as an industry, and I think, as we hear from Mike O'Sullivan today, that's so much of the work that the Trade Desk is doing, and you guys have done an incredible job of making those moments really engaging, and I just want to value them for that.
Agreed.
Well, let's talk about, we are coming up on the upfronts. Mm-hmm. In our industry, by the way, every time I'm like, well, the upfronts are on that. Like, it's always happening.
Always.
So as you're starting to get into those conversations for the 25-26 season, what are you thinking? What are you hearing with regard to this next upfront cycle?
Yeah, listen, for us, we are hearing from a lot of clients that maybe they moved a little too far into the lower funnel, and understanding the impact that the upper funnel has on search, on social, making those dollars work harder for them is an area they're really invested in and learning more about, and we're working hand in hand with them to help understand that. Our big moments, of course, are really, really important for us as well. And, you know, we are, and I'm here for a reason, like we are very invested in programmatic, this relationship, and making sure that we are there for our clients and how they want to activate. And I will say, like, a lot of these table stakes work we've done, the foundational work we've done. We've been working with the trade desk on the right signals, making sure pacing's there, making sure you get access to the inventory, it's there. But the one thing that I would encourage everyone to be thinking about is that programmatic and pre-planning storytelling don't have to be in odds with each other, right? They actually can and should come together, and investing in these moments and being able to activate them programmatically still requires forward-thinking planning, because they are going to come, they are quick, they're valuable, and so you have to sort of get ahead of that. And again, I encourage everyone to think about programmatic and storytelling as a real opportunity that we can be doing together as we go into next year's upfront.
I'm totally with you. I think it's hard to imagine that the kind of events that you talked about would be sort of natural, fluid, liquid parts of always-on campaigns. But that is what I think we need to all embrace and be ready for. So all campaign planning, if your campaigns aren't ready to capitalize on these live moments automatically, without phone calls, without new creative approvals, I think get to work. I think it's an incredible opportunity. And I want to say congratulations on 100 years.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. It's been amazing.
It's great.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you, guys.